Welcome to Market Buzz. I'm Greg Schnell, the Canadian technician and host to the Market Buzz. Each show we do a deep dive into different industries using weekly charts to see what is happening on a long timeline. Please follow me on Twitter at SchnellInvestor, and you can also find my blogs on ospreystrategic.org as well as StockCharts.com. So today I want to talk about the rotation. Oil is dropping hard, tech names are starting to pop, and how does that rotation occur? And the biggest part about it is how do we see that rotation and how do we start to invest with the trend instead of fighting the trend? So I'm going to cover that off in detail. We're going to get into this rotation to start the second half of the year, and hopefully and whether you use it on the industry group I did or a whole different industry group, that's your call. I just want to point out how to do it and try to give people an opportunity, and maybe you'll see some ticker symbols that you're interested in. Also, let's just say that the market is making a low here, and if you're looking to try and find some names that are starting to work, you can check out our offering at ospreystrategic.org. It's only $860 for a year, roughly a little bit more than $15 a week. And you can try just 1 month at $7. But I think more importantly is understanding how to handle this rotation. Let's say oil's dropping hard. Well, that's been pretty clear to my members for quite a while. And we've been looking for a low in technology. And to me, it would appear we're starting to make that turn. The other things we offer at Osprey Strategic, a weekly newsletter, a weekly video, and then a monthly recorded conference call. And again, trade setups sent out every day with daily setups, as well as highlighting of the Schnell strength indexes and where they're at. So with that, let's jump into the charts here and start to roll. Okay, the first chart I want to point out is when I talk about oil down and tech up. One of the things that is pretty important to me, this is a chart that I've posted for the CRB, and what it is, the Commodity Research Bureau, every time this chart makes an outside bar, I placed one of those black arrows. And what is an outside bar? It was higher than the high of the prior month, and it was lower than the low of the prior month. You can see it on the Zoom panel in here. And then we close in the bottom half if it's negative, or these yellow arrows show a positive outside bar where it was lower and it made a lower low, a higher high, and closed up near the highs. So this is just a simple clue, but look at our PPO momentum indicator. It's one of the highest in 25 years. And what you can see here is we're starting to roll over, so that's a concern. But more importantly, I think, is we're getting this big signal that commodities might have run their course. So when that happens, you got to react. And to me, to react, we want to see where the money's moving. So first of all, this is the downtrend for the S&P 500. And then if we change this over to the Nasdaq, this is just since March. But you can see the Nasdaq, I can place a very solid line on here. And it shows that we're basically sitting right at the resistance level where we'd like to breakout. So this is on Tuesday after market close. If this could break out Wednesday morning, this would be a nice bullish opportunity to see this turn to the upside. I'm just going to cancel out of that. Okay, so with that, let's go look at some software names. And why do I pick software? Because it's one of the most dynamic areas and it can move very, very fast. So I refreshed this list, all the new names in here, and I've taken out some of the ones that were up for mergers and their price has started to move sideways. But just generally, here's the whole industry group, and what we can do is we can get rid of a few of these columns, and this is just to help you understand what's going on here. So we have these links over here, and we know that everything's in the technology and software because that's what I'm showing you is the software chart list I've got. And then perhaps as an example, we might not need the market cap, or we might want it, but we can get rid of some of these other columns just by clicking on them. So by going in, get rid of sector and industry, and let's say we keep market cap, but we know that these are all of the date. Now we can do this and we can zoom in a little bit, make it a little easier to see. So that's a general setup. Now, the second thing is I've sorted it on the percent change for today, one day. And the idea being what's moving. We really want to see what kinds of software are moving. And what you'll notice is we've got the closing price as well as the scooter ranking. So here's Unity Software, and it was a pretty well-loved name. Over $200, it's tracking under 40, or around 40 now. So with that, obviously an 80% sell-off, and the real question is, could that actually start to turn up? Well, the little 12% blip on the bottom right-hand corner of that chart is showing us that this was one of the go-to names today as things started to change. Coinbase was also on that list, MicroStrategy, another Bitcoin area. Here's Riot Blockchain. So a lot of these started to move. And one of the things, if we just go get the whatever Bitcoin or Ethereum chart, I'm just going to go get Ethereum for now. But what I want to show on this particular chart, that's not going to help us. Let me just clean this up. Let's go to daily. And the idea being that this big downtrend is going on here. And what we'd like to start, we're starting to notice a higher high. So if this was going to start to break out, that would be important. So let's just say that, as an example, Bitcoin was going to start to rotate. Well, here's some names like Coinbase, and obviously it's been 350 to 50. That's a bit of a pullback. If this could start to turn higher, that would be a pretty nice entry. But one thing when I look at this list of what's moving higher, right, what's moving higher based on the percentage change, is all of these stocks have very lousy scooter rankings. And the SCTR ranking by StockCharts compares the price action on one stock to its peers. And so in this case, a small cap to a small cap and a large cap to other large caps. And that would include like an ExxonMobil as an example. So once you get into these StockCharts technical ranking universes, that's what the U stands for, they're compared directly. But what we want to know is, are they going after the stocks that are already strong, or are they going after the big beaten down ones? And normally off the lows, you might see them jump on the big beaten down ones to start. And then what happens is they rotate into the stronger names as they start to evolve out of the hole. So that's a typical example. Now, how can we work with this to see the strongest stocks first, or do we want to watch based on these stocks and the way they're sorted? So if I was to click on this one just as an example, okay, this is a pretty beaten down chart, and maybe what we want to do is just, I've got it zoomed in a little bit much here. I'm going to just clean up this chart slightly. And the idea being, I've got over 2 years of data here, so let's just change this to 1 year of data and hit update. And then I'm going to apply this style to all, so that all the charts in the whole chart list have this look of 1 year. So if we rotate to the next one, we should see that they've all got the same sort of timeline. Up at the top, I've got my scooter ranking as the black line. And in the background is the purple shaded area, which is the comparison of relative strength. So how strong is the stock compared to the S&P 500? What you want to see is that the stock is starting to outperform the S&P 500. So in this example, whatever this is, C3.ai, it made its low in May, made a higher low in June, another higher low, another higher low. So somebody's starting to buy this. And again, this stock was, up in the 60s back in July of last year and deteriorated quick. I think this one might have even IPO'd. It IPO'd in December of 2020. Up around 183, so that's a bit of a rocket slide lower. And now what we're starting to watch for is, can the stock start to make the turn higher? And I would just say a 3-month high would move it above this roughly $20 level. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for. Now, when we're watching for these bases to form, some of the other indicators should kick up. So as an example, the scooter ranking on the black line here should start to improve. And eventually this relative strength should start to outperform the S&P 500. So today, if the S&P was up 1% and this stock was up 4.75%, it's clearly outperforming the S&P on that day. So this should tick up a bit. Well, then as we go forward, we can keep track of that. We can make sure that it continues to outperform the S&P 500. So what we'd like to see from a technology name is that it does outperform. And if it does, then it's going to start to attract new investors. So the problem here is it was doing really well, right? We had an upslope on the relative strength, and then it fell apart. And literally from $170 or $150, this thing just went straight down. The PPO momentum indicator has never really been in positive territory, or just barely, since the stock started. So that's a pretty weak trend. And what we want to watch for now, obviously, is a change in that trend. And this thing should get positive momentum. So if I went and showed another ticker symbol, whatever, ExxonMobil or something like that, and we'll just put it on. What you see is the PPO momentum indicator should be in positive territory, not negative. And if this was going to start to rock and roll, if that AI chart was going to start to rock and roll, then what we'd expect to see is this PPO momentum indicator get back into positive territory. So it hasn't been able to do that so far, but what we want to watch for now is can it start to kick up? So I've got volume, my PPO momentum indicator, which to me is a pretty important indicator. I want to make sure that the stock is starting to make higher lows on the PPO. Breaking above zero would be helpful. A new 3-month high on the stock, starting to move above some of the moving averages. And then we should start to see the scooter ranking start to outperform. And again, the scooter ranking is compared to its peers, not just to its industry group. So it's across the size of the company. So market cap peer group, not necessarily industry peer group. Okay. So now let's go back to the summary list that we had here. And again, if we wanted to go and look at some of the stocks just based on what was the biggest percentage move, this was only $1.65. We could sort this list and change it to be whatever, less, and any stocks over $5, right? That would be helpful. So what we can do, let's just refresh this list. And then my biggest thing that I want to do when I'm looking at this, I'd actually like to take the scooter ranking and go see what happened to the stocks that had the best rankings. And they were up today, but they, nothing wrong with 7%. This Audioeye has been a name I've heard of before, but it wouldn't take much to get to new 6-month highs for that stock after being in a terrific downtrend. You can see that the scooter ranking is all of a sudden saying, look, this stock's price performance is some of the best out there, and it's behaving better than 94% of the stock. So you start to see something changing. So this is going to help bring those names to the top for us. So as that happens, we can quickly go look and say, is that a stock we want? Now, maybe we want this as it breaks through $8 or whatever, and it's at new 6-month highs, just to pick an example. Well, there's a way to put all of those stocks in order based on the scooter ranking rather than on the closing price or the name or anything else or the percent change. So how do we do that? So once we've selected whatever column we want to sort it on, so let's say market cap, maybe we don't want to sort on that. How about volume today? Well, it still doesn't really help us because usually we'll see the volume be attracted to the Microsoft names. But here's Palantir Technology, low scooter ranking. It's a $20 billion market cap compared to, $1.9 trillion for Microsoft. And it was a big out producer. And this name was very popular back as we worked through things. So I'm going to use the scooter ranking today to try and sort the stocks, and then we can quickly look through them and see which ones change first. But we could do a couple of things. We could do percent change, and we could follow that with scooter ranking, or we could do scooter ranking and then percent change, whatever we want. The biggest thing for me is that as we look at this list, we want to see what stocks actually are in a positive place, which is a strong scooter ranking, and then we'd obviously like to see if they've moved up quite a bit. Now, you can't get a scan for both, but you can prioritize that if these two numbers are equal. Let's find an example. Do I have one? Yeah, 90.9. It will rank it based on the highest percentage change first. Okay, so the way we do that is we actually scroll to the bottom of this list, and on a Mac it's function and an arrow key. It's probably the same, some sort of thing like that on Windows. But you're going to click numbers in sorted order. And what this does is it puts a number in front of all of the names to help keep the sort order the same. So we're going to do that. And now we've created this list with numbers in front of everything. And again, it's based on the scooter ranking based on today. So if scooter ranking changes tomorrow, in other words, some stocks start to really outperform, these numbers aren't going to change. They're going to stay in the order that we had them. It's not going to continually update every day. But now what we can do, StockCharts has moved to this new style where you can look at these charts and you can actually pick how many charts are in a chart list, and we can control the size of them by just zooming in or out. And the idea for me, I want to get 100 charts and then I could just quickly scroll through it and take a very quick look. But you can see this Futu Holdings was a strong stock. Scooter ranking started to drop, hasn't been anything, and all of a sudden it's starting to perform. Here's a 6-month high around $50, and it's just starting to break out. To me, that's beautiful, especially if the stock market's starting to make a meaningful low. It's moving back above its 200-day moving average, which is a strong part of the scooter ranking calculation. So almost always they have to be getting near or above their 200-day moving average to really start to outperform. Okay, so here's Aspen Technologies. You can clearly see an area here where the stock was below, moved back up, and now it would need to turn and bounce here and try to get going again. Looking at this Evolent Health, you could see resistance right around $32. If this can start to make a move higher, that's pretty strong. Now, the scooter ranking on this stock has been staying very strong through the whole thing. So even though the stock market has had a rough time, this particular stock held up very well and didn't really give it up. So let's just say that now all of a sudden the stock market's going to start to turn higher again. Well, this stock's probably one that was able to be very strong while the market was in correction. If that was the case, what's it going to do when it finally breaks out? So a break here above $32 would be something we'd want to watch for. And if that break was to start to happen, I guess I should say 33, but if that break starts to happen, that's pretty good. So now we have Full Truck Alliance. I have no idea what they do, but what you can just see here is the stock's been stuck below $10. Scooter ranking is starting to show an outperformance because remember the stock market kept going lower in June, and yet here this stock actually is almost a double from where it was at the end of May. Multiplan, again, a 6-month base trying to break out, pull back to that breakout line, and we'd like to see it turn higher and rock on from there. Audioeye, that was one I just randomly clicked on before, but the stock has been in a terrible downtrend since its IPO. It got a scooter ranking back in July of 2021. And now all of a sudden the scooter ranking is taking off to the upside. And again, wouldn't take much to have this thing break out to new 6-month highs. And if it was going to start to do that, that would be a pretty good clue that this downtrend is over and the stock is on its way. ForgeRock, it looks like it had its highest close on the chart since 2022 started. That's a pretty nice move. And you can see the scooter ranking is just starting to be recorded. So StockCharts just refreshed everything on July 1 in terms of which group they're in. So something that wasn't in a group before will now be put in one, and here we have it just starting to outperform. Instructure Holdings, Instructure Holdings. And what you see here is the relative strength index has really started to turn up compared to the S&P 500. The stock IPO'd in July of last year. We're pretty much trading at the same level it IPO'd at. Any sort of move higher here would be a positive. And we can see the PPO momentum indicator finally got going as well. So all of this looks good to me. Now, again, what we're talking here, I'm not just trying to show you some names here. It's more about an education of the process of what we want to see, what we're looking for. And again, we're taking strong stocks. Now, one of the other things that we saw in the example right at the beginning was the weak stocks really started to jump. So we're looking at the strong stocks, and again, they were up 3 to 5, 6%, but they weren't the ones that were up 15, 20, and 30%. So what we can do now is we could go to the bottom half of this list, and whatever, we can just zoom forward. So I have to scroll here to kind of run down, but I could actually shoot all the way to the bottom and just say, here's a chart. So in Informatica, new 6-month highs, trying to break out here. Stock was down on the day, so it didn't really participate. Not sure what was wrong with that one. Got a couple of these, maybe starting to fill in. Maybe the stocks were, whatever, their ticker's been listed, but they haven't actually started to chart. Here's Alphi, charts in a downtrend, no real love for it yet, no reason to get involved, but just to give you an idea what charts without scooter rankings look like. And now if I just set this to 25 or something like that, just so I have some smaller groups to work with, I can go down to the bottom, pick a previous group. Okay, so here's Coupa software. I think we've all heard of them. They were $260, now trading, after hitting 50, they're trying to move higher. Haven't broken the downtrend line yet, but this was up 7% on the day. And if we wanted to, just take off this auto size, if we wanted to annotate it in some way, we could just go grab a trend line, shoot it across here, and if that was going to start to break out, we'd be a little bit more interested. Scooter ranking still dead, but again, these big names might be the areas that investors move to for a quick move and then go back and find the stronger ones later on in the process, or perhaps they're just trying to buy the big breakouts now. So here's Trade Desk, Robinhood Markets. Again, this one's been just obliterated, right? It's really down hard. Qualtrics International, I don't see anything on that chart I want to start looking at yet. StoneCo, testing the lows, about the only strong point on that. It was up 6%, so that's a pretty solid move. AppLovin, never heard of it. Must be an app company. They make apps for phones or something, or for computers. Anyway, downtrend, nothing really here. Here's Net, which is Cloudflare. This is a huge name. This was $221 down to $40. Again, 80% off. The chart looked beautiful before. Now it looks downright ugly. But this thing was up 10% very quickly. And again, Cloudflare and Snowflake and those types of stocks did really well on the Tuesday following the July 4th day. Anyway, as you look through these, you can start to see this is 4.69%. Nothing I really want to look at yet. Here's Asana. This one was up 12.7%. Chart still in a downtrend, but obviously somebody showed up today to start buying it. The stock traded almost 4 million shares on the day. And that's a big heady move. If you were adding to this thing when it was at 9 and 10% up on the day, that's a pretty high expectation. So clearly some people think the turn is starting here. The one thing I would like on this one, as an example, I always like to keep track of what my long-term momentum indicator is doing. And in this case, if this could start to break out above that line, to me, that's just a beautiful signal. We've got a price trend here. That's a little bit high, but if I take this price trend off the February peak, where that was a tight one, then we could kind of move to this one. It's definitely trying to make higher highs. And again, we've got the lows sitting here. So that's kind of our support level. If this can finally turn higher, that would be a pretty nice move. So those are just some of the clues that I would use to try and help me. And again, Investors Business Daily, people are looking at something that had already solidified, like the first chart I showed you, and is starting to make new 6-month highs instead of, trying to bounce off the lows. That would be their kind of strategy. The one thing I would say is that strategy was moving up 3, 4, 5% today, and some of these beaten down names were moving up 12. The real problem is you had to be in them yesterday in order to get the 12% move. Okay, so here's Shopify, 176 all the way down to 30. Again, same idea, trying to base here. Well, if this can turn and burn higher, perhaps that's a name worth looking for. And I think we've all heard of them. DocuSign. This one, I think, was in Kathy Williams' ARC fund. But 314 down to 60, again, an 80% drop. And it got bid up 6% today, so not bad. Perhaps it can start to move higher. Anyway, hopefully with all of that, I've given you some ideas on some ways to kind of look through those stocks and try to find something that's working. If there's more we can do for you, please head over to ospreystrategic.org and see if there's anything there. Thank you for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. You can also see the recordings on StockCharts TV YouTube page. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.